Hey there, and welcome to this video on portfolio structuring, part of the portfolio management class. So one of the hardest things for new crypto investors is knowing what kind of assets to include when building a portfolio for the first time. This is a question I've been asked a lot, and it's a difficult question to answer as I never like to tell people what investments to make. Also, the type of portfolio that I would put together is very dependent on the size of the initial investment. Also, it's an answer that has a lot of variables. Should you include Bitcoin? Should you include Ethereum? Are there any small coins that you think will go up, which you should include? How should you build a portfolio with $100 or $1,000? Well, just like how you should define risk versus reward, understand the difference between a trader and an investor, understand the different sectors, etc., you should understand your portfolio goals. So that's where we'll start. For example, look at the most common portfolio out there, the retirement portfolio. Basically, everyone knows the importance of actively saving money for retirement. And most retirement plans subscribe to the contribute and coast mentality. However, to keep everything running smoothly and to ensure maximum earnings, retirement accounts are meant to be safe and sound. That's their goal. Meanwhile, cryptocurrencies are uncertain, high risk, and volatile. They're speculative, and any cryptocurrency portfolio is going to play to that nature. That's their goal. So what's the point of talking about two diametrically opposed investment vehicles? Well, cryptocurrencies bring an entirely new asset class to the wider market. The absurd price swings that have made crypto notorious can be very attractive for people willing to take investment risks. So let's start by applying some of the lessons of retirement accounts to the wild west of investing that is cryptocurrency and the portfolios we're building out of them. One of the first rules of investing is diversification. The old saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket, still rings true even with cryptocurrency. Common strategy we see with retirement accounts is to diversify your holdings into a variety of mutual funds with manual rebalancing every so often. But that being said, most tax-deferred retirement accounts only give two options for investing: stocks and bonds. Stocks operate with more risk, bonds with less. The common advice financial advisors give is that individuals should hold a percentage of stocks equal to 100 minus their age. So for example, if you're 60 years old, 40% of the portfolio should be in equities. The rest should be comprised of high-grade bonds, government debt, and other relatively safe assets. Now, crypto is obviously going to represent more inherent risk than stocks or bonds, but there's no reason we can't apply the same sort of balanced diversification approach to our crypto portfolio. We can use the risk allocation tier method, our tiers 1 through 4, we discussed in the risk versus reward module, in order to architect a portfolio that matches our risk tolerance. And we can focus on the sector allocation of our investments to ensure we're getting the best investment bang for our digital buck. So let's break it down. Let's assume you have no cryptocurrency investments, and if you do, there's no shame in building a new portfolio. Iteration is the mother of success. Start by understanding your capital investment size. Is this going to be a lump sum, or are you going to grow it over time with more investment? Are you intending to divest once you hit a certain number or time duration? Or is this like a checking account with an extremely variable interest rate? Will you play with profits or just take the money and run? Whatever the case, have an idea for the goal of the portfolio and have an idea regarding the size. Think of it like you're a farmer. You wouldn't just make it up on the spot. You'd know going in how big your farm is, what seeds you're going to plant, how you'll manage it, and if you'd like to reinvest the profits into gaining more farmland or better tools, or you can just keep the profit for your own personal gain. You'd have a plan, you'd have a goal, and you make sure the goalposts can move. Obviously, the farmer's goal is to plant, grow, and harvest crops. But do they just pack it up after one season? No. They fertilize the earth for the next season. They use the success of their original goal to plan and prepare for their next goal. Okay, so once you have your goal, once you have an idea for this portfolio, it's time to really go to work. We're now going to split this portfolio into 4 pieces, or tiers. If it's easier, you can think of them as concentric rings. The tiers represent risk, with tier 1 being the least risky and tier 4 being the most risky. The tiers also represent position size, generally with tier 1 being the largest and tier 4 being the smallest. Now, there's 2 ways to look at your portfolio once it's split in this way. Looking at it from a risk perspective, the tier 1 ring in the middle is the smallest because it represents the coins with the least risk, whereas the tier 4 ring on the outside is the largest because it represents the coins with the most risk. But if we look at it from a position size perspective, how much of our portfolio we dedicate to each tier, generally we'll see the inner circles dwarf the outer circles. meaning we're investing more of our portfolio in less risky coins. Now, the thing to stress here is that this is just one example. If your portfolio goal was to chase the highest risk coins because you don't care if you lost all the money you invested in and you want to treat cryptocurrency like gambling, then your portfolio rings would look very different than someone who invested 60% of their holdings into less risky coins. What's great is that neither one of these examples is absolute. We generally steer cryptocurrency investors to a less risky dominated portfolio because most cryptocurrency investors have never invested before, so it's in their best interest to make sure they're not blown up chasing after the riskiest coins out there. So the obvious question is how to allocate coins into tiers, and how do you determine risk, you might ask? Well, it's simple really. Risk is really just the probable success of the coin. It's easiest to think of risk as 3 separate categories: high, medium, or low. We could also classify risk by labeling them value, growth, and speculative, representing that your low risk coins will hold the value the best, your mid-risk coins will help you grow your portfolio, and your speculative high-risk coins will either pan out or die. The easiest way to determine the risk is by currency market cap. You can easily look up the market cap ranks of cryptocurrencies by going to coinmarketcap.com. So you're looking at a coin, it's rank 50, has good fundamentals, a good team, a unique use case, good performance, and you like the mission. And it's in a 3-star sector. Being ranked 50, it's easily a mid-risk coin, and you're excited to open a position with it. But is it a tier 2 or tier 3 coin? Surely it's not a tier 4 coin, right? Alright, so this is where the tier system trips people up. Coins are not automatically tier 3 or 2 or 1. They always start at tier 4. Why? Because you don't understand enough about this project yet. Tier 4 coins represent the outside of your circle of competence. You understand the basics, enough to open a position, but a small position, let's say 2%. It's a tier 4 coin for now. But hold on, you say, this is not some tiny coin that no one's ever heard of. These guys are serious and the project is solid. Why do I have to put it in the same tier as my low cap, high risk coins? Well, that's because you need to know more about this coin. You need to be exposed to their community, understand how frequently the devs share information, see what other people say, etc. Trust me, there's many great looking projects out there that look excellent on the surface, but once you dive in, you'll realize you've made a mistake. You don't want to go all in like an amateur poker player simply because your emotions are telling you to invest everything. That's the #1 reason people get burned in crypto. And it's usually because they got greedy or feared they were missing out. There's many reasons to toe the water and test your investments. Make them work for your money. Once a coin has proven itself to you, once you trust that it's worthy of your portfolio, that's when you can start moving it up in tiers and expand your position size with it. And so that's why I designed the system that way. Coins will often not change their risk profile. A mid-risk coin is going to stay a mid-risk coin for a while. But that doesn't mean it can't become a tier 1 coin. Because, like I said, coins rise in the tiers as you trust them more and research them more. Essentially, tiers and risk are not exactly the same thing, but they're certainly intrinsically tied. So having a portfolio designed this way will give you the flexibility to build a portfolio that equally balances risk and reward. Cryptocurrency is such a volatile and developing space that the notion of a safe coin is rather foolish, even for something as established as Bitcoin or Ethereum. In the equities market, allocating 60% of your portfolio to low-risk blue-chip stocks is what people do with their retirement portfolios. But trying to do the same thing in crypto is simply not a low-risk proposition. Investing 60% of your portfolio in coins that are in the top 10 is not a guaranteed safe move, despite how it might seem. Look at the list of top 10 coins from 5 years ago, and you'll notice that only 2 or 3 are still in the running. What do you think will happen 5 years from now? You need the ability to have a dynamic portfolio. You need to manually reconfigure this portfolio often. Until this space starts being less speculative, you'll be punished for taking a fire and forget mentality. Okay, so quick recap. Coins belong to 3 risk profiles: high, medium, or low. We also call this speculative, growth, and value, respectively. Coins also belong to 4 different risk tiers in your portfolio. You define what tier a coin belongs to based on how much you trust it, how much you've researched it, and how much you've invested in it. Coins always start out at tier 4. You build a portfolio by defining the risk you want, the purpose it needs to fulfill, and the size of the investment you're making. Once you understand the risk profile of this portfolio, you can more easily define what types of coins are going to go into it by risk. You want to fill the portfolio with as close as possible to the 3 risk parameters you define when creating the portfolio. For example, 60% low risk, 30% mid risk, and 10% high risk. You want to begin by filling a portfolio with coins that have small position sizes, and you want to take things slowly. Do not immediately fill your portfolio all the way to the brim unless that is the intent to begin with. The better method is to grow and fill your portfolio slowly over time, allowing you to deeply understand every coin that you're investing in. It's much better to invest in 5 coins that you understand very well than 25 coins you hardly know anything about. You'll track the performance of your portfolio and the coins in it using the risk tier method, allowing you to rebalance the portfolio as conditions change. For example, a tier 2 coin suddenly starts to tank and hits your stop. You downgrade it to a tier 3 coin, reduce its stop and position size, and rebalance the excess capital into other tier 2 and tier 1 coins so you can maintain your allocation percentages. You don't need to go overboard and completely granular here, but hopefully this gives you a sense of how to build an intelligent portfolio that can adapt to changing market conditions. Now, one last thing to cover is if you're building a portfolio using fixed capital investment. For example, you have $100 to invest, or $1,000, or $10,000. How would you structure them? Again, your motivation and goals are going to be completely your own. But generally speaking, I think these loosely represent the requisite capital levels to employ different risk diversification. What I mean is that a portfolio with only $100 should only stick to one risk category. For example, high, medium, or low, but only pick one. At $1,000, you can start using 2 categories: high and low, medium and high, low and medium, etc. Finally, at $10,000, you have enough that you can employ whatever diversification strategy you'd like. But again, ultimately, the decision is yours, as the results will be yours. Design and employ a plan that suits you. Be the master of your own investments, and you'll yield more than just monetary returns. You'll know how to design and build a well-diversified portfolio, which is a skill you can hone and master and use for the rest of your life. Cryptocurrency represents a tremendous opportunity, but there are many other investments out there that you can utilize these same techniques on. Whatever the case, enjoy the results of your hard work and revel in the fact that you're part of the investor class. In the next module, we'll go over risk management and the difference between an investor and a trader.